Hello, everybody. Um, we've got quite an interesting AMA session for you today. As you can probably see from our social media accounts, we've been quite busy with various progress, milestones, and releases in the ecosystem. As we've mentioned in recent weeks, there is a renewed focus on stimulating and pushing forward the various projects that are building in the cherry ecosystem and on the cherry chain. Those that we are partnered with and those that we are more involved with. And you will see over the next couple of weeks this really taken off. And if you take a look at the recent announcements and unveiling of Original Factory, it's originalfactory.io. That's the URL. And I think their Twitter account is origin_factory, I think. And then you'll be able to see some of the interesting things they're doing. It's quite a hot topic at the moment. The kind of capabilities and possibilities that the art world is afforded by artificial intelligence and machine learning. It's quite promising. It's certainly very interesting. And we're hoping that the guys at Original Factory will kind of place themselves at the forefront of that. We've had one of their team has joined us for an AMA before, and perhaps it might be an idea for our first full ecosystem AMA to have those guys involved as well. And they might be able to tell us, along with Herman, during that session, the kind of ways that the cherry chain allows them to do things that otherwise wouldn't be possible or very feasible on other blockchains. So for you guys, it's quite I suppose it's a good thing to see more and more projects building in the cherry ecosystem, because as we've said before many times, it's not really going to go anywhere. The project will not go very far unless we make it as amenable and as attractive to build in as possible. So yeah, that's something good to see. Also, I think that Marvin has some updates regarding our main or one of our main flagship ecosystem projects, which is of course Cherish, later on in the AMA. Diego likewise has some positive developments to share. Just a point of order, the prizes for the last couple of AMAs are a bit delayed in announcing who's getting what, etc., because there are some people who still haven't replied to me with regards to selecting which prizes they want. But I'm going to push that forward as well in the next couple of days, so we'll get that tucked away soon as well. And of course, Herman is joining us, and he's going to give us the most important and instrumental updates regarding the core development effort. I believe he's here on the line at the moment, and I'll hand it over to him, and he can share with us his insights. Are you there, Herman?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Owen, and thank you, everyone. Last week, I mentioned I was going to keep it brief, and then I spoke for 40 minutes. I'm going to try and compensate today with getting to the point earlier. So first of all, it's good to disclose our ecosystem updates. Yesterday, not yesterday. Last week, I gave some insights in both our core attitude toward ecosystem projects and also some basic understanding of what each of these projects have in common as far as what they're thinking and how they're preparing for and reacting to the market's different circumstances and responding to variations in demand and supply as it educates their launch first and foremost, their relationship with Cherry, and also how they vary their commercial output. So first of all, I'll share some information about core. over the past 2 weeks since the upgrade, people have been complaining that they hadn't seen their staking rewards show up in their wallets. As I mentioned, this was a purely interface issue, not a blockchain issue. Um, as of uh, 2 nights ago, this was fixed. So now, if you can go back as you normally would to trade up place under um, staking, I think you'll find the rewards or payouts section. I forget what it's called. You'll find the rate of return for each node, and there's the five we usually have. You can either nominate if you haven't already, or review the staking rewards you've received thus far over the past 2 weeks, and which should be largely in line with our expected rate of return of 8%, despite what's shown on TradeUp Place. That's still a weird mathematical glitch. We are figuring out how to solve it precisely, but though it may give you inflated rate, that is a rate given a more restricted supply than what's actually staked or the actual circulating supply. And so in general, the rate will be the one set a few months ago during the cherry tightening update, the cherry tightening upgrade, therefore at about 8%. It will stay at that level up until we believe either the market condition changes or different valuations are made in respect to what the nominators and staker and validators do, which may vary their output toward the network and therefore their compensation level, or more simply, evaluation of either the technical team or the community. That may, independently of any more specific consideration, decide to vary that figure. So, in short, TradeUp Place is now updated. Staking is fully functional there, but it had been on the blockchain. And the other things that were wrong, namely metadata updates on the Polkadot.js extension, the treasury section, all those, even the illustration there, now it's pink, it resumed the normal cherry brand. All that's fixed. So what does that mean? Nothing in particular, but it now means that I can move on to more substantial information. People have been waiting for the EVM. We've announced that that was going to be our next big sort of landmark upgrade. Since the introduction of Layer 0, it has been our main focus, while it hadn't been possible before, and it isn't possible to the extent it now is in Cherry on many other blockchains, since while they may be interoperable, as we have been in the past with bridges and so forth, they cannot be compatible given the lack of a double virtual machine or lack of support for, let's say, double virtual machines, or the lack of native integrations with additional stacks. Let's say, for example, Filecoin has a Filecoin virtual machine, which is sort of tangential in its relationship with the Ethereum virtual machine, but its relationship with Filecoin, the state machine, the block storage, the network as it has been for years now, is quite weak, given it's based on these abstractions rather than it being a true layer 0 or a true side chain, any other of these scaling methodologies that are now emerging now, these later years. And so Cherry has adopted these latest trends. We think that Layer 0 is among the most sophisticated, and I'm frankly very excited in what it enables us to do, not just in pursuit of compatibility with Ethereum, which of course is a great priority, since it's not our main pursuit to develop things in addition to or in replacement of these very established technologies, we have this one very specific niche that we excel in, which is storage, distributed storage, that is trustlessly accessible by smart contracts. And that's really what we should be focusing on. The more we can integrate with these other systems that are very well built, very well supported, with great tooling like Ethereum, that's built an amazing brand, a massive following, huge tool set. The more we can integrate with all these and leverage them, not just for the benefit of Cherry, but also for the benefits of the developers building there locally, since we enable them with tooling, with specifically a storage solution that would not be accessible to them otherwise, and which alternative is frankly inferior. Um, that's our objective. So interoperability was a stepping stone toward that way, but it was incomplete given the security and trust assumptions required. Now that we do, or that we will have Ethereum compatibility, and Ethereum being one of many, will soon expand to other things. It essentially means that any blockchain that supports the Ethereum virtual machine, therefore the main ones, Polygon, Phantom, Binance Chain, and many others, Avalanche, they will all be instantly compatible with Cherry, able to deploy, developers will be able to deploy Solidity contracts on the Cherry instance of the virtual machine, of the Ethereum virtual machine, and vice versa. Cherry developers can deploy elsewhere with fair ease. And even more than that, applications that are deployed elsewhere are ready, so without the need of deploying additional software, can instantly access the features of Cherry, and again, vice versa. Inversely, Cherry applications like parachains can instantly access outside applications, say deploy Solidity code on Ethereum with absolute ease. That's, of course, the objective. It'll take many, many months to perfect that, but over the past few months, we've developed a solution that gets us very nearly there. Now, we needed the layer 0 upgrade. That's done. Within a few weeks, we can start experimenting the Ethereum. Just a second. We will start experimenting with this update on testnet. Therefore, we will be deploying the Ethereum parachain on testnet, and I'd give it maybe 3-4 weeks from today, and perhaps 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on how testing goes. And of course, we will want your guys' involvement, namely because it is much more accessible. In regards to Ethereum, there's all this tooling already available to everyone, so it's not just going to trade up place and interacting with these functions superficially. We may expand our community bound to even deeper testing, not just in testing the Ethereum virtual machine, but also its relationship with the relay chain, with this protocol called XMP, which allows you to transfer tokens, let's say, from the relay chain to the parachain, and vice versa, to represent, let's say, native tokens as ERC tokens, to pay ERC transactions, or to pay Ethereum virtual machine transactions with Cherry, which isn't its native currency per se. So it's all these different things that not just technically but also economically need to be perfectly aligned. And once all that testing is done, I'm very confident that within 6-8 weeks, we will be deploying the Ethereum virtual machine on the Ethereum virtual machine parachain on the new Cherry mainnet relay network, and therefore then the Cherry network will be officially not just Ethereum interoperable, but Ethereum virtual machine compatible. All that to say that core-wise, there's great things ahead. This is, again, the culmination of months and months of work, while others have been faltering and complaining, oh, the markets are down, bear market, yada, yada, yada. We have kept our head down, built, frankly, exceptionally. I want to, and I have been doing this in the past. I want to underscore the outstanding behavior and the commitment of our team, Owen, and the people here on our call, but also those who are less vocal, those who don't flaunt their work, but still have been invaluable in building Cherry. And ultimately, we have this idea of the Cherry vision, the Cherry mission, which is quite, almost ethical. And it wouldn't be possible, or it certainly would be much more difficult and certainly less fun to do it without them. So let's also acknowledge them. These are my core updates. Of course, you can intend all the other steps. There's many things going on aside from this. There's the bridge. There's all a set of tooling that all follows the addition of the EVM. And I'll leave all that to your imagination, and I'll sure to make some announcements about that over the next few weeks. Again, it's not too relevant now since we do need to get to the stepping stone so that we can get there. But it's all very exciting, and there's a very rich plan for the next few months of deployments, of upgrades, and building this ecosystem, this rich ecosystem that's been our goal all along. So with that, I think that's all core-wise. I'm going to leave you back to Owen and the ecosystem team. I bet they have plenty of more exciting news than me. Goodbye.
Thank you very much, Herman. That was fantastic. And yeah, it's certainly of paramount importance, the development in the core. We've been quite unequivocal about this, that Cherry is a technology first company. As Herman mentioned, there's a lot of people who aren't public facing in the team who really drive things forward. It's all very well to, represent the company well at various junctures, as the rest of the team that you guys know do. But we have to always be grateful and recognize the stellar work and tremendous effort and often sacrifice that the devs behind the scenes put in. And it reminds me of a rugby analogy, that the forwards being the guys who have to be in the scrum, and they have to, do the tackling and like push forward and do the really messy work. And then the backs are the guys who just throw the ball around and try and get it over the line. They always say that the forwards decide who wins the game, and then the backs decide by how much. So I think that's very relevant for a technology first company like Cherry, where we really have to be very grateful for the very complex and very cutting edge and immensely intellectually challenging work that the devs do day and night, in fact. And we're very pleased to have such brilliant minds driving things forward where it really, really matters. So Happy New Year to all the devs, I suppose. With regards to the other things that we'd like to cover on the call, I'll just briefly go over some of my updates. The ecosystem tracker that we mentioned last week is in its final stages of being released. I have to go now and kind of do somewhat of a write-up on some of the projects, and to give you guys an insight into what's going on with them. While we can't disclose every small detail about all of them, because a lot of them are still in a stealth phase or a pre-launch phase, but there's still some juicy details that we can disclose with regards to almost all of them, and that should be released in the coming days. And I think it's going to be something that the community will really appreciate. As I mentioned earlier, Original Factory has just launched. I'd encourage everybody to go and check out the art that those guys have made. To be honest, I think it's some of the best AI art that I've ever seen. Dolly and others are very good also, but I think that these guys are really on the forefront of and at the cutting edge of what can be done from a creative, how to harness essentially supercomputers to make really beautiful and really interesting things. And I hope to get to talk to some of the guys involved in that at some point pretty soon. Also in an AMA, which is going to happen in the next few weeks, I hope. And then finally, as Herman mentioned, there's some very exciting core updates coming, specifically the EVM. And we have to, as a team on the business side, make sure that these milestones are celebrated and that indeed not just the wider tech community, investment community, but especially developers get wind of this and that they hear about it and that we can engage with them to get more and more projects building in our ecosystem, in our environment, on the Cherry chain. That's what we want. That's going to be the criteria that decides and determines the success of the Cherry chain over the next 12 months. And we're very confident that we have something really special to present to developers that they'll really want to get their hands on and they have done so far. I mentioned again at Web Summit, we were talking to a lot of devs and they were really impressed with what we're trying to build and what we've already built. So it's all quite positive on that front. I'll now hand you over to, I think I'll hand you over to Diego, if Diego's there at the moment, because Seedling are doing some pretty cool things as well. They were working on if you haven't watched the video, it's awesome. It really explains what the Seedling edge is in a very, at the moment, congested launchpad market. Seedling is doing quite well. We've got some good projects have launched on Seedling, and now we believe that the guys at Seedling have really done their homework and formulated a value proposition that can really beat the entire market in that regard. So if Diego's there, he might be able to talk us through it. I might repost actually the Seedling video to our chat, our Telegram chat. So if anybody hasn't seen it yet, then just hold on 1 minute and I'll link it again.
Hello, Owen. Please do, and thank you for the introduction. And Happy New Year, guys, to every one of you. As always, we will give the weekly update of Seedling, and this week, especially, as Owen mentioned, a very interesting and an important update with the launch of this new campaign that includes a very special promise, or let's say even a gift from Seedling to the community, and many other things. But to start, as always, let's start with the projects. Even though the general situation of the pre-sale market is and will be in a difficult situation in the upcoming months, we keep on reviewing projects on a daily basis. We know there is many of you that know that there's still a very good opportunity to get in some projects early that will then boom on the next months or years. This week, especially 2 projects, 4 projects contacted us, but 2 projects that seem very interesting are in the process of being reviewed. Seedling teams and researchers have spent the last couple of days reading all the market overviews of this new year by the biggest names, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, even crypto research companies such as Messari or Arcane, exchanges like Coinbase, Binance, or even leading crypto VCs such as A16C or Pantera Capital. And it seems like they all get to the same common note, and internally working in the crypto space and being in contact with so many professionals on the space, it seems like we all think the same, that money can flow in and out from the crypto atmosphere and it works in cycles. But the key point is we can also see that development has not stopped. Technology keeps being built, and not particularly at a slower pace, but actually rather quickly. Many huge agents and chains in the space are quietly building, such as the Great Cherry Network. And I'd say spending even more time on developing than on a maybe more positive cycle to build and develop technology, and therefore preparing their technology to then market and capitalize at the correct moment in time. So it's now the moment to build. And after all, bull market is widely known for the marketing pushes and not so much for the development. And looking back at the last couple of months for Seedling, we've launched numerous new initiatives and added value proposals to the community, from a changing system to pure deflationary, which we think is the way to go in the future, even though retail loves the staking and the other inflationary pressures. We restructured the whole internal processes. We introduced Seedling research document, applied application for the projects, a change in the website, and many more things, which brings me to the next point and another, I believe, game-changing initiative, which Owen mentioned, which might not receive all the benefit right now, but will definitely open the eyes of many pre-sale hunters in the near future. So as you all know, and as Owen mentioned earlier, or should know by now, 2 days ago, we finally released our new initiative, the Seedling Promise. I encourage everyone to go read the post launched yesterday on Medium and their both, if possible. And also, we uploaded a more visual alternative on YouTube explaining the whole thing. We're very basically promising in a couple of phrases that basically Seedling will always have the best possible conditions in a sale using our platform. We will always match the best conditions with the lowest barriers to entry of the same pre-sale we launch. So this means forget yourselves basically of paying high fees and huge buying thresholds like in other communities, VCs or other launchpads. Seedling will pretty much always be the best option. And I will share again for you guys this on the chat after this AMA, or maybe Owen has already done so, and even could share the research documents of the biggest research firms I mentioned earlier. And yeah, just to finish, we will be posting our monthly newsletter as usual, and also a very cool recap of everything that went on for Seedling on the last 12 months. So yeah, guys, thank you. I can now say I can see a very bright future for Seedling, especially with this last huge push and commitment, even reducing our benefits as a company and passing on all the best conditions to our fellow seedlers. So thank you, guys, and see you next week.
Thanks a million, Diego. That's great. Certainly very exciting things going on at Seedling, and compliments on the quality of the video, etc. It's something that really stands to Seedling and also stands to the wider Cherry project by virtue of you being the native launchpad of our ecosystem. On that note, we have some pretty promising progress to report on the Cherish front, and we have our valued partner Marvin here to discuss some of those things in his kind of weekly update. Are you there, Marvin, at the moment?
Yes, most definitely. And yes, indeed, as you said, there are some exciting times for Cherish, as we just hit a very important milestone / a landmark. We've hit 82% functionality. We thought it was about time we released a status update on how far we are and where we're reaching right now. So with this 82% functionality, we can say that the launch horizon is coming closer, and we are really looking into making sure people get their hands on Cherish very soon. So this means that in the coming future, we will start allowing a lot of our creative partners on the platform and making sure that they start playing with it and getting their hands on it and getting known with it, so that they can help us out in bug testing and making sure everything's ready for the big launch. But that's all coming in the next few weeks. So we're very excited for that, and we've been saying development is really speeding ahead. Right now, we can just already see the finish line. So last week I mentioned that we have a creator interview on the way with Javito from Voice Finder that is still on the way. It's about done, so you guys can look out for that. Cherish Update 6 will be published tomorrow. Normally we'd like to have it published today, but since we had the exciting announcement of our milestone, we push that a bit to the front. So look out for Cherish Update 6 tomorrow. Then on the business side, we're also focusing on more partnerships so we can exponentially grow the effects of our launch push, that be in marketing and in onboarding. So that's one of our main focuses right now, together with the usual onboarding, contacting many creators and making sure they are ready when the starting shot is blown. So everybody they all can get their hands on Cherish as soon as possible. I think that's about it for Cherish. So I'll give you back to Owen.
Thank you very much, Marv. It's kind of along the same lines as what I mentioned earlier after Herman spoke, is that the initiatives in our ecosystem, such as Cherish, are, well, they might seem at times fairly standard and by the numbers. When you actually look at what the developers are doing and the kind of things that they're breaking ground on, it's really impressive. And the more that these development projects become unveiled to the public, and the more developers get in contact with and get their eyes on what's actually already been built, the better things are going to be for Cherry. And we're really looking forward to that kind of progress unfolding in the next few weeks and months. With that being said, I think we're going to move along to the quiz now. It's one that John has been working on today, and I think that he's going to freeze the chat as usual, and then throw in the questions. I'm going to announce the winners. I don't think I've announced the winners from last week because we're still waiting on some people to get back to us from the bumper Christmas quiz the week before. We might as well announce them anyway while we're waiting for things to come along. So within the next couple of days, the winners of this quiz and those of last week will be announced. So John, do you want to take over there? And for the rest of you guys, as I mentioned, we're hoping to have another ecosystem project announced by the end of the week. That's the next big thing that's going to come on our radar. We're going to have some newsletters coming out tomorrow from Cherish, Seedling, and perhaps Cherry as well. And on top of that, we have another couple of things to work on in the background that I'm hoping that we can release, such as the ecosystem tracker. Any questions, of course, as always, throw them in the chat and we'll try and get to them. And in the meantime, if I don't talk to you before now and next week, have a very nice week. And again, a happy new year to you all. Bye-bye.